Hi, this is the Rachel Ham Show. I'm Rachel Ham. I'm really hoping this recording works. This will be the third time I have filmed this particular video. Something's gone wrong in each of the other times. I am really praying and hoping that this time it actually works. I've had unreal amount of opposition and warfare. And even now, as I hopped on to try this for the third time, my lamp broke. The light that shines right on my face when I'm filming to make sure there's plenty of light. I've made some makeshift lighting. Hopefully it works and well enough. But what in the world? It's been unbelievable. I don't know if you're going through the same thing. It's been really interesting because Lana Vosser, the prophetess from Australia, had put out a word, and it felt like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through. You know, it was so specific and had such specific things that we had been dealing with as a family in the email. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it's not just me. Maybe this is what people are going through in general. I'd mentioned it before, you know, that earlier in the summer about opposition and feeling like oppression and depression. And that has continued, unfortunately. I wish it hadn't, but it has. And also just unreal amounts of warfare. Stuff that it's like you can't even imagine that this many different things could go wrong. You know, like something would go wrong, I would fix that thing, there'd be another thing on top of another thing. I mean, it's just been one thing after the other. So, for example, I have filmed upwards of 6 different shows that I have not been able to use for various reasons because of something going wrong. And this would be the 6th show, but then this particular message, this one is the 3rd time of filming this particular message. And right now, I don't even know if it's working, because what happens is I don't know until the end when I push stop and go back and look at it, and then I have found something is wrong. So Lord, please help this work today. I pray a covering over all of my equipment, and I cancel any assignments of the enemy to keep me from giving this message. In Jesus' name, amen. I also have not forgotten about the table settings and the recipe that I'm going to share that's so wonderful and easy. You're going to love, but I've already filmed them and it didn't work. Things went wrong. So I think I've solved the problems of the things that went wrong, but I thought I had solved them already before. So we'll see. It's been interesting. I don't really know why the warfare is so increased, but just talked to a couple other people and they said they're experiencing the same thing. So I do believe it is not specific to me. You might be going through the exact same kind of thing where it just feels like one hard thing on top of the other, on top of the other. But we shall persist. I definitely do have something in me that feels like the more that the enemy tries to oppose me, the stronger I get instead of the weaker, because I just feel furious and like it cannot work. He cannot win. He cannot stop me from doing the things that God has told me to do. And I hope you have that same resolve, right? Because that's the goal. He wants to stop us from obeying God. He wants to kill our faith if he can. That's really first and foremost. If he can separate us from God, you know, disrupt our faith, that's ideal. And so, you know, I'm going to check my settings even right now as we're in the middle of recording. I'm going to make sure. Okay. Yes, it says. Okay, it says it's working. Let's hope it is. Let's hope it is. Okay. So I'm going to try it again. I'm getting actually kind of tired of sharing this. It's a dream that I had, and I'm getting kind of tired of sharing it because of already having said it twice. And so now for the 3rd time, let me tell you a dream that I had on August 22nd. So first of all, let's pause before I tell that. And remember how I was telling you about flies coming into our house. And you might want to go to look at the screen. I'm going to show you a video of just one little 18-second video or whatever of flies in my windowsill that I just killed. Now what will happen is I will then pick those flies up and throw them away. And then within about 10 minutes, that same amount of flies would repopulate that same area. And the flies were all throughout our house. We thought that we'd gotten rid of them. We got these fly traps. They were awesome. And then the flies just came right back. They were literally in every single room. They were in the weirdest places and they were getting into stuff. Flies. I'd never seen anything like it. And then, of course, we had the frogs that came also. And then a friend of mine had the locusts all over her property or whatever. So the Egyptian plagues, right, is basically the point, is that these things that are happening are like the plagues in Egypt. So I saw it as a good sign because what comes after the plagues is the promised land, the getting free from Pharaoh, getting the Red Sea moment, and heading to the promised land. So I'm encouraged about that, but I'm especially encouraged now that I had this dream. So we were just solving the fly problem when I had this dream. So this dream was August 22nd, and I will tell you now. Okay, so I was in this little town. It was, I knew it was like kind of Central California, in this place that is kind of like a nothing town, like kind of podunk, not really special, not great, not that many people live there, just not really probably a town you would have ever heard of, kind of a town. So I was in that kind of town, and I walked into this diner, what looked like a diner, and I was just observing. And there was an entrance door, and then there was a counter, and then there was an exit door. And there was this woman, looked like in her 60s, and she was putting these brown paper sacks that were a little bit larger than the lunch size bags, kind of that next size up, medium, not full size grocery bags, but like maybe, I don't know, yay high. And so she was putting them with the top folded over onto the counter. Someone would walk in the door, pick up the bag, and walk out the exit door. And then another one, same, over and over repetitively. And I thought, wow, they really have this little system down here. So I'm just observing, and suddenly the lady behind the counter looks at me and she goes, kind of whispers, she goes, "Do you want to know what's in the bags?" And I look around like, is she talking to me? And I'm the only one there. And so I said, yes. And so she goes, come here. And she motions for me to come behind the counter. So she takes me behind the counter, and we go into the back, where I see a woman sitting in a hospital gown, and she has like a little toddler next to her. And I know that she's just given birth. So you know how it is in dreams, like you just know, right? So I knew she had just given birth. So then this lady, motions to me and opens up one of the bags, and there's a little newborn baby curled up in the bag. And she points at it and then points at the lady, and she goes, this is her baby. And it's clear that she's not wanting this woman to know that she has put her baby in this bag. So I'm thinking, obviously something is seriously wrong here, but then it quickly shifts. And she said, I know what you're thinking. And I said, what? And she said, you're thinking you might be trying to rescue these babies, but I'm sure some of them still die anyway, right? And I said, well, no, that's not what I was thinking. And she goes, well, let me tell you, you've heard of the starfish analogy. And I said, yeah, the story of the two men walking on the shore where all the starfish have washed up, and the one man is picking up a starfish and throwing it in as they walk, and the other man says, you're never going to make a difference doing that. There's so many starfish, you can never throw them all back. It won't make a difference. And he said, well, it made a difference to that one, right? Like, in other words, do what you can do, even if you can't do it for everybody. Do what you can do for the ones you can do it for. And so she was saying, yes, that's my mentality of what I'm doing with these babies. And I suddenly realized that this is an abortion clinic, and that this woman is, instead of killing the babies, she is just taking them out of the mothers and putting them into these bags, and is running like a good baby black market. So, and again, in dreams, like I just knew all that suddenly and realized what she was doing. So she told me, my boss thinks that these babies are dead. So he thinks that I abort them and put them in the bag, and that we're selling the baby parts. But that's not true. He doesn't realize that I never kill the babies. I put the mothers to sleep who are seeking the abortion, take the baby out, put it in the bag, and then we have the interceptors, is what she said in the dream. Interceptors come pick them up and rescue them. And in the dream, I kept interchanging interceptors, intercessors, and going back and forth between those two terms, which is important. So then she says to me, no, so then I asked her first, I said, what nationality are these babies? Interesting question. And she said, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Every single people group is represented here. There's a baby from every nation, tribe, people in these bags. Everyone is represented. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And she said, yes. And she said, do you want one? Do you want one of the babies? And after she asked me that is when I woke up. Okay. So what I felt as I processed that dream, and I really let it kind of marinate for a few days and then tried to film and it didn't work, and then tried to film again, didn't work. So I know it's been, a week and I'm just now getting the dream to you, but I was very excited when I woke up on the 22nd from this dream. We had just gotten the fly problem out of control, and then this dream felt to me like that woman was an Egyptian midwife. And even in the dream, I'd had the thought when she told me what she was doing, I was like, oh, you're like an Egyptian midwife. That's what you are. You're like what they did. Remember how they were supposed to, they were given the orders to kill the baby. They were supposed to kill him when they were born, when the Hebrew babies were born. They were supposed to kill him, but they didn't. They kept letting him live. And so it felt like this woman was a modern day Egyptian midwife. So as I processed the dream, I felt like the Lord was showing me that this was showing that the Moses types for every single nation, tribe, and people group are on the scene and are being brought onto the scene, are being rescued and transferred into their God-given place, rescued from death, right? They were supposed to be aborted, rescued from death, and are being given life and can fulfill their God-given purposes because of the intercessors. Those people that were coming and picking up the baby and taking it out, one after the other, after the other. They were the intercessors. And I felt like I was wanting to encourage the intercessors, those people, you know who you are, right? Like you pray all the time. You're in your prayer closet praying and covering things in prayer. You pray throughout the day. You're a prayer warrior, and you're the kind of person that no one knows your name. You're behind the scenes. You're private. You're not flashy. You're not out front. We may never know your name. But the Lord wants you to know that your prayers are bringing the Moseses on to the scene. And in fact, your prayers have already brought the Moseses onto the scene. But what's different about this Moses type is that it's not just for the Israelites. Every single nation, people, and tribe she made it very clear. They're all here. They all have a type. One of these babies has been represented. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. Every tribe has had at least one baby come through here. And so I feel like God is saying, like, this isn't about the Israelites getting saved from the Egyptians and being led out of Egypt into the promised land. This is about the world, the whole world. Every type of person is going to have a chance to go to freedom. Now, this is why I say a chance to go. Because when the woman looked at me and said, do you want one of these babies? It felt like, as I prayed about the dream, it felt like it was that there's going to be a choice to have a Moses type. In other words, if she's asking me, do you want one of these babies? What she's asking is, do you want Moses to lead you out of Egypt? And you might think, well, of course you do. Well, not necessarily. Think about it. When the Israelites were led out of Egypt, they were bitter. They complained and mumbled and grumbled because they wanted the leeks and the garlic and the onions of Egypt. They actually felt endeared to their slavery because it was easier. It was familiar. It was comfortable. Not everybody wants freedom. That's why Jesus would ask the person, do you want to be healed? Why would you ask? Of course you want to be healed. Not necessarily. I know a few people who I think they love their illnesses because of the attention it gives them. They genuinely don't want to be well. They thrive off of being ill. So if you're healthy and normal, you would be like, well, of course you want to be healed. Well, not everyone does. And not everyone wants to be let out of Egypt either. Some people would choose the comfort that slavery gives them over freedom, because freedom, of course, there's going to be some sort of risk involved, right? There's a risk when it was time for them to leave. Think about how risky that would have felt, right? To go to your Egyptian neighbors, ask for their gold and silver, and then eat this meal this very specific way, and then follow me out to the Red Sea and God's going to part the waters for us. I mean, every step of that was a risk that they had to take, and not everybody's going to be willing to take it. So some of you, hopefully none of you, but some people we know might choose to stay in Egypt. And I believe there will be a choice. Somehow there will be a choice where freedom is going to be offered, but it's going to require something of us and maybe be kind of risky, right? And require faith. And so not all of us will choose it. So that's what the question at the end was of, do you want one? So I felt just so excited about this dream, especially having lived out some of these Egyptian plagues in real life, and then seeing that these intercessors were bringing the Moses types onto the scene, and that we're going to have a choice to pursue freedom if we want to be led to freedom if we want to. So I just want to encourage you with that. I know that the waiting is getting long and annoying, and it's hard. And I also know that there are some intercessors who have been pouring out tears in prayer and have been praying for this nation, praying for the other nations, praying for the world, praying for people, praying for the remnant, really, who I really have such a heart for. The remnant, which if you're watching this, you're probably a part of the remnant, could be, good chance. I think that we're drawn towards one another, right? So I want to encourage you. I want to encourage the intercessors. God bless you. God sees you. He knows. He's seen every tear. He's heard every prayer. He's answering your prayers. And thank you. I want to thank you for your service, really. It's a service to God. It's a service to the kingdom. It's a service to the remnant. It's a service for our countries as you have done this specific thing of interceding on our behalf. So thank you. God bless you. And for everyone else, just be encouraged by this message. And I got new mics, so I'm going to be refilming the table setting and the cooking thing that I have to share with you so that I can continue in your pursuit of taking good care of your home, your family, and your community by way of hospitality and homemaking and all of that. So stay tuned for that. And please be praying for me if you would. Hey, intercessors that I was just speaking to, pray for me. I need it. I really need it. I mean, it's just blowing my mind how hard I have worked to get these videos to you and how much it has not worked. I need some prayer covering. I know that obviously darkness hates any messages that are from God or that are going to encourage God's people. So I think I have a little bit of a bullseye on me and would really appreciate your prayer. Oh, before I end real quick, I also wanted to tell you that I have been adding things to my website in correspondence with my videos. So the same exact name and title will, the video like this is episode 3, the Egyptian midwives and the intercessors or something like that. So when you go to my website, which let me put it up here on the screen for you real quick. It's pretty straightforward and easy, rachelham.com. As you go to rachelham.com, you can go to the resources tab, and on that page, there will be corresponding things that go along with the show. So I mentioned something in the show, I'll put it on there. So today I will type out this dream and I will put it on my resources page. So if you want to go back and reference the dream, you can without having to watch the whole video again. So that's all for real. So until next time, God bless you and know that you are loved.